Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman, and thank the witness for being here. Mr. DeJoy, first, before I have that discussion with you, my line of questioning, hearing my colleague just a little earlier talking about abuse of power was just such an outrageous statement, and what he said was an abuse of power. I think we in Congress are here to ensure that there is no abuse of power in any of the branches of government. And when he talks about the collusion, we see that when the Senate Republicans finally get off of their butts and do their job, eventually there is corroboration to some of the work that happens here in the House. At least the House is going to do its job. And there are issues that need to be addressed here today, and that's what we're going to do. So, Postmaster DeJoy, your general counsel, Thomas Marshall, said, "We are currently unable to balance our costs with available funding sources to fulfill both our universal service mission and other legal obligations." That letter went on to outline a number of drastic operational changes that are being attempted to implement in the name of cost cutting. You have spoken here today about the measures that need to take place. And in one instance, you're saying how you want to get those done. And then I also hear you saying as if it was not you or you're not responsible for the changes that have been made. In your August 13th email to all postal employees, you took credit for the changes that have been made. Here's what you said. You took credit and you said also, "Unfortunately, quote, this transformative initiative has had unintended consequences that impacted our overall service levels." That was your email. Is that correct, Mr. DeJoy?
It sounds like it.
Okay. And as a transformative initiative, it's fair to say that these changes were intended to have a meaningful impact. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And these changes are happening across several states and across the country.
I don't know what you're reading from.
The transformative changes that you all have intended as cost-cutting measures.
No, it was not cost-cutting measures, right? The two changes I made was the organization and complying with the schedule.
And those transformative initiatives have happened across states, several states?
Every state a truck moves in, yes.
Okay, so that would be several states, yes. Thank you. I have a slide that I'd like to show about first-class mail. If you can see from the slide, this is a U.S. Postal Service slide. It discusses the pre-sort first-class mail. It appears that there's been a decline since July. This slide reflects nationwide numbers. Would you agree with that, Mr. DeJoy?
Yes, it does.
And clearly, an 8% drop in one-time mail is a meaningful impact, and the headlines from across the country that the committee has collected show how widespread these delays are. Would you agree that there are delays presently?
There are delays, yes.
Thank you. I know in my own district, which relies heavily on the mail because we cannot drive to different big boxes or other locations being an island, Leona Blake, her Cigna prescriptions usually take 3 to 5 days, have taken 2 weeks. Shannon DeSig, who runs a small retail store on St. John, usually 10 days max for priority, which is kind of long for priority, but we are an island, and now takes weeks. Ivan Jacobs, priority mail, typically takes 4 days. It's now taking 12 days. Sherilyn Stapleton, summer college program items have disappeared. It goes on and on and on. Now, in 39 U.S.C. section 3661-B provides, when the Postal Service determines that there should be a change in the nature of postal services, which generally affects service on a nationwide or substantially nationwide basis, it shall submit a proposal within a reasonable time prior to the effective date of such proposal to the Postal Regulatory Commission, PRC, requesting an advisory opinion on the change. Now, you have agreed with me in previous questions that this has been a change that has substantial nationwide basis. It generally affects postal services, and that it is a change in nature of postal service, which generally affects service on a nationwide substantial basis. Have you, sir, submitted a request for an advisory opinion to the Postal Regulatory Commission?
A request for an advisory opinion on asking the organization to adhere to their transportation schedules is not required
I didn't ask you about the transportation schedules.
That's
I
the only
asked you.
change. That's the only change that
If I may finish my statement, sir, I'll let you finish yours. That when a postal service determines there should be a change in the nature of postal services, which generally affects service on a nationwide or substantially nationwide basis, the changes that have occurred have had a meaningful impact on service. One, under Buchanan versus U.S. Postal Service, the three factors for illegal requirements are a meaningful impact on service, a change that must be in the nature of postal services, and a change which would, quote, affect a broad geographic area. Is that not the case?
The gentlelady's time has expired. The gentleman may answer.
Thank you. The change that was made was not expected to have the impact it had for the duration of the period that it had, but it also did not contribute to 10 and 12 and 2-week delays. Mail that was processed that didn't make it on the truck would have gone on the next truck. If you looked at that chart, you would see that as soon as we went into day +1, we were back up into the 90 percentile. There are other factors that are contributing to excessive delays throughout the country for these longer delays.
Yes, COVID.
Yes, ma'am.
As well as others, and the fact that you would institute these impacts after that has happening to this country really questions your logistic expertise.
We are working very, very hard across the whole country to get all the mail on the trucks, and we're seeing rapid recovery, and we will, once this is put back in balance, we will have a better system and a much more cost-effective system.
Okay, the Congresswoman's time.